Hello everyone, FSG here, hope you're all doing well, and apologies first and foremost for being a little bit absent the last week or so. I've been absolutely snowed under with work and also managed to catch quite a horrendous cold as well, which you may still be able to hear in my voice a little bit, but we're back fighting fit just in time for Christmas, which is a relief. I was not looking forward to being ill over Christmas, but I'm back, and with some phenomenal news. The first release of COURSEPLAY for FS25 is out. So we're going to have a little bit of an overview of it here. We're not going to go into a specific tutorial. That'll come later on. I'd like to kind of dig around and work out what's changed here because of the new menu system in FS25, things are laid out slightly different, although the functionality remains predominantly the same. Now, this is available on their GitHub only. Do not download this from anywhere else. Don't go to any of those horrible download sites. The only place at the moment you can get a legitimate copy of this is through their GitHub, and I will put a link to that in the description below. I'm sure it will come to the in-game mod hub later on, but for now, their GitHub is the only place to get it. And if you are uncomfortable downloading things from GitHub, that's fine. I have done a video on where and how to download mods from GitHub, so do check that out as well. I'll put a link to that in the description too. So, first and foremost, let's pull up what they have said. So there we go, COURSEPLAY for FS25 version 8.000. This is the initial FS25 migration, and while all functions from FS22 are implemented, except draw field on the map, which will be coming later on, they can still have errors and not function correctly in some situations. So be mindful, this is the very first release. It is likely to have bugs in it. They have added a keybind to generate a course when standing with the vehicle on the field, default Control G. We'll have a look at that later on, it's quite clever. The settings are used from the generator menu, so you kind of need to set things up how you want them before you press Control G, where you get some interesting stuff. The help menu is mostly up to date, but some details might not be correct. For example, custom fields, because the feature has not been implemented yet, the information's in the help menu, but it won't work if you try it. The course editor is disabled, and that's going to be added in later on as well, and better controller support will come with later versions. But in general, they have done a ton to this from what I've found out from playing around with it for a little while. And they have said, please report bugs, feedback to them, let them know how it's working. They said, please, we don't need any more enhancements, though. They've got a stack of them backed up from FS22, which they'll try and implement over the course of rolling this out over the next few months and years. So, let's jump in. Let's have a look at it. Right, in the tractor we are. First things first, delete is your button to pull it up. As you can see, you've got your little mini menu there, and you can see you've got your mouse cursor floating around here. Now, interestingly, with this, I used to be able to press delete to remove the window as well, but at the moment it stays up. The only way to do it is to, it does remove the cursor, but it doesn't remove the window, is to close it, like so. So I'm going to feed that back to them, because I like the way that you could just press the button in the past. And then everything here looks very similar to it did in 22. Now, one thing that has changed is access to the menus. Now, if you remember in FS22, if you hit the escape button, the COURSEPLAY menus would start to appear down the left-hand side here, along with your other ones. Now, you'll see that they aren't there anymore. So, I don't know how to access them. So, do we press H? Press and hold H. No, that just brings your in-game settings up as well. So, of course, you can click on the tractor here. That gives you your vehicle settings. If you click on COURSEPLAY Fieldwork here, it does nothing. So the only way to get into here is to get your vehicle settings here. Now here as well are your global settings. Here are your helper settings as well. So this is where you prepare your courses. There's where your saved courses will sit. And there is your help menu with all of those elements that we've seen already. So slightly different that. Bear that in mind. Also, if you go to your keybinds, there are your COURSEPLAY keybinds, and you can see here there are a few set, but there are a lot that aren't set, including the open the settings menus. Now, this was all blank. I've put Left-Shift-C in there to open the course generator job menu, because once you've got one of them open, you can access all of the others. So, what we're going to do is we'll just leave it as that, but it does mean now that if I come out of here, I can press Shift-C, and it will bring up my helper settings, which is great. So, I suppose we better set up a course, hadn't we? So let's start our tractor up here. We're going to roll him onto the field, like so. And we're going to press Shift-C that we've just set up. And as you can see, we have our white line around our field already, so it's detected the field. Of course, if we were off the field, we could put field position, and it would select the field as well. So, all as it used to work in FS22. Now, the only problem here is I could generate a fieldwork course here. Look, in fact, I'm going to do it and see what happens. Now, it's given us 3 headlands and an up and down rows. That is because that is already set in here. So, 1 tool, 3 headlands, a narrow field deactivated, of course, because it's not a narrow field. We've asked it to start work on the headlands, so we could change that to centre. Sharpen headland corners is an interesting one. I've left that activated. That basically gives you your curved corners or your square corners, depending on how you want to set it up, and also how many corners you want. So we're just going to say on the outside headland here, but we could, in fact, if we go back to our map here, you can see it's given us the outer headland here, and then it starts to square it off. But if I wanted to, I think I could do that. We'll need to regenerate the course, but I think that'll give us round... Yes, there we go. So it's rounded off all 3 headland corners there, which is quite a nice little touch. Now, this could have been out in the last version of COURSEPLAY for FS22. I didn't ever download it, I'll be honest. I was lazy and I just stuck with the version I knew. So that could have come in the last version of FS22, but for me, that's a new feature and I like that. Of course, you've got your directions, counterclockwise or clockwise, overlap on your headlands. You can put a field margin in there as well. Field centres, again, you've got up and down, spiral, lands, racetrack, all those things that we know from the old versions of COURSEPLAY. Centre directions as well, even row width, so this is interesting. This will reduce the working width to achieve an even distribution across all lines. You know, when you get to the end of a field and you get a narrow strip left, basically it'll calculate that across the whole field and make sure everything is there. Rows follow field edge curve. Now this is interesting. So this is deactivated at the moment, and you'll see we've got our internal rows going north to south. Now if I turn this on to activated, other than taking ages to calculate, look what it does here. It does some crazy stuff. I don't really know what's going on there, so that could well still be a little bit work in progress. But I'm going to deactivate it because, as far as I'm concerned, that looked rather messy. Direction of rows, manual or automatic. So if you go to manual here, you can put the degrees in. I'm happy with automatics going up and down on the longest edge. And you can do your skip rows there as well. You've also got island bypass here, so you can switch that on and you can do as many headlands as you want around islands. So if you've got a tree or a power line or something in the middle of your field, you can make sure that it goes around, and the direction you can go around it as well. So lots more features there. And again, your vine settings here, so on the vine, left or right of the vine, and how many vines to skip. Not something I've ever used, to be honest, this COURSEPLAY with vines for grapes. So maybe something for FS25 that I've not done before. Anyway, back to our map. We're going to generate our course again here, because we messed that up, but now, of course, we've cancelled that. There we go. We're obviously starting on the internal parts as well. So, all that is left to do here, now I could start the job from here, of course, because we've done that before, but what we'll do, we'll go back to the tractor. But there we go, back to the tractor again. We just move this off our tractor so we can see where we're looking. Now you can see here, your control of the eye here, we've got it so it's showing the start and the end of the course here. But I'm going to put it on to full green here so you can see our full course. And we'll pan around, and there you go. Glorious to see. Good old COURSEPLAY lines are back. So what we're going to do here, I think if we're happy to go with this, we're going to, of course, switch it to first waypoint, and we are going to hit the play button. And we're just going to follow our little tractor here, make sure he's doing his thing, and if we're happy, we're going to leave him to it, and then we'll go and have a play with the combine. But there we go, rolling into space here. Dropping down the implement, I expect. There we go. And we're off. There we go. COURSEPLAY running in FS25. How exciting. Close our menu there for a second. But that is looking really, really good. So he will do all of the internals. I've not put skip rows on, which was maybe a bad call, because he's going to do some pretty tight turns here. But in general, this is looking pretty good, isn't it? This is looking pretty good indeed. Right. We'll just keep an eye on this for a second on its first turn. Just make sure he does what he's supposed to. But I think there's enough space with 3 headlands there for him to do a nice loop round here and get himself sorted, as long as he doesn't get caught in any trees and stuff. But COURSEPLAY in general is pretty good for this, if I'm being honest. So looks like he's lining himself up pretty well here. Whether or not he'll need to drive forward and then reverse or just drop down. No, look at that. So he's planned that to perfection. And off he goes again. Right, like I said, we'll just leave him to go. We'll come back in a little bit and see how far he's got. But all looking really, really good. Right, let's give a combine a go, and let's just test the combine unload function as well. So we'll jump into this, we'll pull things up. Now, interestingly, it shows up initially with COURSEPLAY silo work. I don't know why that is. It's doing that in the tractors as well. So, for example, let me just jump into the tractor here. Its default is, so it's unload combine because it's got a trailer on it at the moment. But if I disconnect this, there we go, and roll it away, you can see COURSEPLAY silo work is now the default. But let's hook up this trailer. Let's go and jump into the combine though, and we'll give it a go, because as soon as you put the header on, it switches to Fieldwork, which is the one we want. So, there we go. Let's just fire this up. Roll it forward. You see, switch to Fieldwork now that we have put the header on. Right, let's get into the field here, and we'll give this a whirl. Now, one thing I like to do when I have got a field is just to roll on, just cut the first little bit so you're onto the field with the combine now. Now remember, we had this Control G option before, which would set up a course for you. So let's just try that, shall we? Control G, and look, it has given us a course. Now, it did say that the course was set by what was in the settings, so if we go and look at the settings now, you can see what we've got is a course with no headlands, and that's because if we go into the settings, the number of headlands is 0. So let's switch that up to 3. Let's start work on our headlands. Everything else seems fine. So let's go back here. But instead of generating the course here, let's go back out and press Control G again. And it's recalculated the course. Now if we go back to our menu here, yes, there you go, it's added those 3 headlands in. So, that's quite a nice way of doing it. As long as you've set your settings in your Fieldwork, just pressing Control G will set your course up for you. You don't have to go in and set it every time, which I quite like. I do quite like that. So, all looking good here. So, let's let him go on his merry way. There we go. Right, while the combine's running, let's set up this for combine unload. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't used this much. I was always a fan of auto drive in FS22, so this is relatively new for me, but I like what's going on here. So there we are, COURSEPLAY unload combine. Again, let's go to our menu here, because there's some interesting options here as well. So target position, field position, so we can pop the field here, unload combine. And then what it'll do, it'll unload the combine using COURSEPLAY, but then it will flip to the Giants unloader, which will allow you to then drive to wherever you want to go. So our silo is just here. So I'm going to select silo, if I can find it quickly. And then we are going to just watch and see what happens with this. So, there we go. He's doing his thing. I don't know where he's going. He might run his course first. We're just going to keep an eye on this, see what happens. Right, randomly he's driven to here. I'm not sure what that means, but We'll wait until the combine's full, I guess, and he gets called, and see if this is actually going to work. Now we're back in the combine, just so we can observe what's happening here. Now you see we did do that curved outer edge, which has left crop on the edge. But as we've gone into the second row, we are doing a squared off corner. So again, you have the choice if you want smooth corners or squared off corners. I guess it depends on the field and the shape and things like that. But you've got those options available to you depending on how you want to play it. Now we are looking at 46% in the combine so far after the main headland, and now the second one should probably get us close to being ready to unload. So we're just going to let this run, come back when it's nearly full, and hopefully that trailer that's randomly parked in the middle of nowhere will hopefully come and find us. Right, we're back, and as you can see, there is a certain green tractor scrolling down the field. Now, we are designed to, I think, unload at 80%, so the fact that he's decided to come find us bodes very, very well, doesn't it? So let's see what happens here. I haven't changed any of the settings other than switching on combine unload. The fact he's trailing us ahead of the 80% being triggered is interesting. I'm going to be very excited if this happens, and if this works in tandem with the Giants courses, that will be very cool. But there we go, 77. Auger pipe is out. He's rolling under. Oh, happy days. Oh, happy days indeed. Now you do have some options here. Sorry, I was just sitting watching that, enjoying it. Now you do have some options here in terms of you can stop while unloading. The combine can self-unload, so you could just leave the trailer on the field if you wanted. In a field this small, to be honest, that's probably what I would do. And unload on the first headland. You can adjust the percentage that your unloader gets called at. So lots and lots of options in there. We just left it pretty default. Now, interestingly, this is a good test, isn't it? Is it going to get out of the way? And it looks like it is. Combine is completely empty now. And he is getting out of the way. Now I'm going to jump out of here, because I believe this trailer will unload when it gets to 85%, so it's just 2% off. That's interesting, because I want to see if it'll go to its unload point when it's full. So let's let that combine fill up again, and then we'll come back and check. Just while we're waiting here as well, we just thought we'd just look over the road and see how our other guy's going, and he's doing a sterling job there. No issues at all with him, so the joy of being able to leave COURSEPLAY just to get on with it and not worry about things. Right, see you when the combine is full again. Now our combine's lights are flashing at close to, I'm going to have to tab to it, 81%. Interesting. Is our tractor going to move now and come and unload? Let's just wait and see. He is, there he goes. Slightly nervous then, I'm not going to lie. So let's drop back to our tractor, because he has got 83% in him, hasn't he? And he is set to empty when over 85%, as you can see down there in the menu. Just there, look, you can see 85%, so he only needs 2%. Oh, the combine is actually full here, that's interesting. So he's going to roll into place. Like I said, this is on pretty much the default settings. I haven't changed much at all here. So there we go. How much will he? Probably go to 100% now. Done. Right, now let's see what happens. Because this is where it switches from the COURSEPLAY course to the Giants unload. So will he go to that silo over there or not? Let's wait and see. Tell you're on the Giants one now, because the front wheels start having a bit of a disco. But let's see how well this works, shall we? So far so good, right? It doesn't look great with the wheels twitching like that, but hey, if it gets there, I ain't gonna complain, because then we know we can pretty much automate things. This is looking really promising. So there we go. And we're tipping. So that works a treat. No complaints for me there. Now we've just got to make sure he gets back to the field. Kind of hoping that's not going to be too big an issue though. We shall see. Of course, it's a bit janky. He's making some interesting decisions as to which route to go. But I said that, but no, it seems to be working out. I mean, crikey. Give him a hard time for efficiency, but it appears to have parked up again here. I'm actually just going to pause this and run back to the field. I feel something's not quite right there, but a bit of experimenting and I think that would be fine. So, I mean, that's the first real problem we've had. Let's just leave him here. He's probably fine here, isn't he? But in general, again, I'm going to have a play around a bit more with this and work out what's going on, but in general, gotta say, it's pretty good. It's pretty good for a starter for 10. Certainly, we've got unloading on the fly now, which is something we've been looking forward to ever since FS25 came out. So, let's leave this doing its thing. I'll switch it back on, because there's one last thing I want to show you. Now, I've set up a little experiment in the field here. I didn't download the last version of COURSEPLAY for 22 before 25 came out, so this could have been added as a feature at the end of 22, and I didn't know because I was using 7.4 right up until the end. Just pure laziness, to be honest. It worked, and I didn't need it for anything else. So it could be that this has changed and was added in 22. But for me, who didn't download the latest version, this is quite new to me, and it's the first time this has come back since FS19, as far as I'm concerned. Pile on the ground, and you can scoop it up and put it in a trailer. So let's just show you how that works. So what you want to do, you want to click a loading position, something probably like that. So it finds the heap in front of you, and it finds the border around the trailer as well. So if we come back out of here now, so back in we go, and we hit go. There we go, bucket goes down. It moves forward, it picks up a pile, it then rolls backwards. Now this is going to be interesting. Will it get over this pile or not? I've still not mastered this perfectly. I'd like it to not drive over the pile when it's after it's picked it up, but I think that's just a case of positioning the load and the target positions. But look, this is all automated. I remember this in 19. Argsy did a very good video on loading fertilizer spreaders with it and automating everything. It was very, very good. But there you go. Look at that. And it'll go back for a second one now until the trailer's full. Really, really good. So, again, another nice feature. We probably need to work out a better way of doing this so it doesn't run over the pile. But there's another new feature as well where you can tip. So where we were doing with the combine there, you can actually tip in the field or tip to the ground and have a digger or a loader picking it up and putting it into trailers or whatever. So lots of flexibility with this. Like I said, we'll come back with some kind of proper heavy-duty tutorials of how to do stuff properly, but this was a bit of a first look. I know a lot of you will want to grab a hold of this and have a play around with it in your own time and get used to it, but it's so good to have this back. I tell you, the flexibility and the options that we're going to have available to us now are going to be really, really good. So, like I said, probably a little bit more work to kind of work out just how this works properly, but so far, I mean, even now, that is literally clicking a few buttons and seeing what happens, and it is working a treat. So, and this is just going to improve over time, right? This is the very first release, and I've got to say, it feels quite robust as a starter for 10. Certainly a step up from the in-game stuff, so brilliant. PC players, go grab it, go have some fun. But for now, from me, thank you very much for watching. I am so hyped for this. It's like an early Christmas present, this. So, take care, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with some more in-depth tutorials on COURSEPLAY for FS25. Thanks for watching, Bye for now.